All right, so today we're going to be talking about attraction and more specifically, the kind of guy who just seems to attract women effortlessly. You know the type. The one who doesn't even seem to have to try. Well, it turns out that it's not really about looks or money or even, some kind of magic pickup line. Today we're going to be diving deep into the psychology of attraction, and thankfully I've got an expert here with me to unpack some pretty interesting principles. So
Mhm.
let's get right into it.
Yeah, so I think what's interesting is that a lot of guys get kind of stuck chasing after all the wrong things. They focus so much on all these external factors
Sure.
when, genuine attraction. It really comes from more of a strategic mindset and certain specific behaviors. It's about really understanding the deeper psychology that creates this kind of magnetic pull.
So we're talking about a total shift in perspective here.
Yeah.
Instead of chasing, we want to become the ones who are chased.
Exactly. And the great thing is that it's totally achievable. And so today we're going to be breaking down 10 core principles all based on psychology, that can really help you understand how to flip that dynamic.
All right, I'm excited. Hit me with principle number one.
Okay, so this first one might sound a little counterintuitive, but the first principle is to stop caring about her opinion.
Wait, what? You're telling me I shouldn't care about what she thinks? Isn't that basically, dating suicide?
Okay, so here's the nuance. When you're overly concerned with what a woman thinks of you, it actually ends up working against you because it shows this need for validation. And that can often come across as insecure and needy. You know the book, The Rational Male? Rollo Tomasi talks about how this neediness creates this imbalance in the power dynamic, and it actually pushes her away instead of pulling her closer.
Okay, so it's not about being completely indifferent. It's more about finding that sweet spot where you show interest, but without becoming obsessed.
Yeah, I think it's more about recognizing that you know your worth as a person. It shouldn't depend on whether or not she approves of you. When you're genuinely confident in yourself, you don't really need constant reassurance from other people. Like Tomasi uses this example of a guy who sends a text and doesn't get a response for hours. The insecure guy is going to immediately start texting things like, oh, did I do something wrong? Is everything okay? Well, the confident guy stays calm, assumes that, she's just busy or has other things going on.
Yeah, and it's crazy how even something as simple as a text message
Hmm.
can reveal so much about your mindset.
Absolutely. Even these little subtle behaviors can really trigger these unconscious responses. And it all goes back to that power dynamic. When you're emotionally reactive, you're essentially giving her all the power because you're letting her dictate your emotional state.
Man, this is already making me rethink like some of my past dating experiences. Wow. Because of principle number one, ditch the need for validation. Cultivate that inner confidence. What's the next game changer?
Okay, so this one builds on this idea of self-assurance. And that's focusing on your own value.
Okay, so let's break that down a bit. What exactly does value mean in this context of attraction?
Well, I think of it as the sum of all your qualities, your skills, your experiences, and your overall contribution to the world. It's about, becoming the best possible version of yourself. And here's what gets really interesting. So evolutionary psychology actually suggests that. Women are subconsciously drawn to men who display certain traits that are kind of associated with strength and leadership.
So we're talking about like these kind of primal instincts that are hardwired into us.
Yeah, exactly. Like qualities like confidence, self-sufficiency,
Mhm.
ambition, these kind of things signal that you're capable of providing and protecting. And on a subconscious level, that can be really appealing.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. It's like that old saying, confidence is the most attractive accessory.
Yeah, and then there's also this other psychological principle at play here. It's called the scarcity effect. So when you're genuinely busy, building your life, pursuing your passions, you kind of become less available. And that actually makes you more intriguing.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed that. The guys who are constantly chasing after women, they never really seem as interesting as the ones who are, focused on their own goals. So how do we practically build that value? Like, where do we even begin?
Well, there's a few key areas I think we can focus on. So first, your physical health. And this isn't about, achieving some impossible standard of perfection. It's more about self-respect, taking care of your body because you value yourself.
So it's the intention behind it that really matters. It's about feeling good in your own skin.
Exactly. And then there's also cultivating skills and hobbies. That can kind of make you a more interesting and well-rounded person. So maybe you learn a new language, take up photography, or get really good at cooking. It gives you things to talk about, things to share with other people.
So it's about adding some depth to your personality
Yeah.
and becoming someone you'd want to hang out with, even if you weren't, interested in dating them.
Right. And I think we also can't forget about professional growth. Women are attracted to ambition and drive. It shows that you have goals and you're actively working towards them.
So like pursuing your career goals is another way to build value.
Yeah, it's about showing that you have a sense of purpose and that you're striving to achieve something meaningful with your life. And then finally, cultivating a strong social life outside of any romantic interest really showcases your ability to connect with other people and create these fulfilling relationships.
Yeah, and this all ties back into that scarcity effect, right?
Yeah.
Showing that you have this vibrant life beyond any one person. It makes you more attractive. It's like you're saying, hey, I'm already awesome on my own.
Yeah.
You're welcome to join the party.
Exactly. Think about the message you're sending. When you post a photo of yourself engaged in something that you genuinely love, it's subtly communicating your value without you having to explicitly say, hey, look how great I am.
Yeah, so it's about living a life that you're truly proud of, and that kind of naturally attracts other people to you. Okay, so principle number 2, focus on building your value. What's our next secret weapon in this arsenal of attraction?
Okay, so this one is all about mystery and intrigue. Don't chase. Create mystery.
All right, we're getting into the good stuff now. Tell me everything.
Okay, so think about like a movie where you already know the ending. It's not as exciting, right? And attraction kind of works the same way. When you're constantly chasing after a woman, you're taking away that mystery. You're predictable. You're readily available. And you're not really leaving any room for her to wonder about you.
So the chase actually kills the attraction.
Yeah, it can. Because you're eliminating that element of the unknown, that sense of discovery that keeps things, interesting, like the human brain.
Yeah.
It's wired to be curious. We're drawn to things that are new and unpredictable.
Man, this is really making me rethink my whole approach. So
Yeah.
how do we create that sense of mystery? What are some practical steps we can take?
Well, first, you can limit your availability. Don't always be instantly available. Like if she asks you to hang out, it's perfectly fine to say, I'd love to, but I'm actually tied up tonight. Let's find another time. It shows that you have other things going on in your life.
Yeah, it's not about playing hard to get. It's about actually having a life that keeps you busy.
Exactly. You want to show her that you're not just, sitting around waiting for her call. Another tip is to leave these little gaps in conversation. So if she asks about, your weekend plans, don't give her a detailed itinerary. Just say something like, oh, I've got a few things lined up. Should be a good one.
Yeah, that definitely leaves her wanting more. I can see how that would spark her curiosity.
Yeah, and then especially in the early stages, try to avoid oversharing. Let her discover things about you gradually. It keeps things interesting, and it prevents you from becoming too predictable.
It's like peeling back the layers of an onion. Each layer reveals something new and intriguing.
I like that analogy. But yeah, I think the key here is to really just focus on your own priorities, your passions, your friendships. When your life is full and vibrant, it naturally creates this sense of mystery that draws people in.
So instead of chasing after attention, you're creating this kind of irresistible pull that makes people want to come to you.
Yeah, exactly. And remember, this isn't about like playing games or manipulating anyone. It's about genuinely investing in your own life, which is ultimately the most attractive thing you can do.
Okay, awesome. So we've covered 3 essential principles so far. Stop caring about her opinion, focus on your own value, and don't chase, create mystery.
Yeah, and we're just getting started. There's so much more to uncover when it comes to understanding the psychology of attraction. You're ready to explore some more powerful principles that can really shift those dynamics of attraction?
Absolutely. I'm all in.
Okay, so principle number 4. This one's all about mastering the art of silence.
Silence. You're saying that saying nothing can actually make you more attractive? That's not what they taught me in debate class.
I know, right? It might seem kind of counterintuitive, but silence can be a surprisingly potent tool. Think about it. Someone who's constantly talking, trying to fill every silence, they often come across as insecure or even desperate for approval.
Right. So it's about being comfortable with those pauses, those moments of quiet reflection.
Exactly. It shows that you're not afraid to kind of let the conversation breathe a little bit. And that can really convey a sense of confidence and self-assurance. The psychologist Paul Watzlawick, he wrote that one cannot not communicate. Even when you're silent, you're still sending a message.
So what message are we sending when we embrace silence?
A message of strength, presence, being comfortable in your own skin. It's kind of like that power of the pause that public speakers use to emphasize a point or create anticipation.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this could work, but how do we use silence strategically when it comes to attraction? Like, give me some real-world examples.
Okay, well, let's start with conversations. When she asks you a question or makes a statement, Just pause for a moment before you respond. It shows that you're actually considering what she said and not just waiting for your turn to talk.
So it's about being present in the moment
Mm,
and not just trying to impress her with like witty comebacks.
right. And what about when she pulls back a little bit? Maybe her texts become less frequent or she takes longer to respond.
Oh yeah, I know that feeling. That's usually when the anxiety starts to kick in for me.
Exactly. And so instead of reacting emotionally and like bombarding her with messages, you let the silence work for you.
So resist that urge to double text.
Exactly. Give her the space to miss you, to wonder what you're up to. It creates intrigue and it keeps you from appearing needy.
Man, this goes against like every instinct in my body,
Yeah.
but I'm starting to see the wisdom in it.
Yeah, and silence can also be super powerful during disagreements. Instead of getting all defensive or trying to win the argument, just try calmly holding space for the conversation to unfold.
So take a deep breath. Stay grounded. Let things cool down a bit before reacting.
Exactly. It shows maturity and self-control, and those are both very attractive qualities. And then let's not forget the power of shared silence. Sometimes just being present with someone without feeling the need to fill every silence with words. That can actually create a much deeper connection than hours of talking.
Yeah, it's about creating that sense of intimacy and comfort, that feeling of just being completely at ease with each other.
You got it. Women really notice when a man is confident enough to just be, so embrace the power of silence. You might be surprised by how much it can actually shift the dynamic.
Okay, my mind is officially blown.
Oh.
Silence, who knew? So what's the next principle that's going to transform my dating life?
Okay, so let's talk about actively triggering her curiosity. This is principle number 5. And it builds really beautifully on the idea of silence.
I have a feeling these two principles are like a powerful combination. Silence creates the space, and then we can strategically inject a little spark of intrigue.
You're catching on quick. A little bit of unpredictability can actually make you far more fascinating than someone who's always trying to please or be agreeable. It's about being your authentic self, not trying to fit into some mold of who you think she wants you to be. Remember, predictability kills attraction.
So how do we inject this unpredictability into our interactions without it seeming like we're playing games?
Well, think about breaking patterns. If you always suggest dinner for a date, maybe try something more active, like rock climbing or a museum exhibit. If she's used to you always agreeing with her, playfully challenge your opinion once in a while.
I love that. It keeps things interesting. And it shows that you're not afraid to be yourself. It's like you're saying, hey, I'm not here to be a yes man. I have my own thoughts and opinions.
Yeah, and remember those gaps in conversation we talked about? You can use those to kind of subtly trigger her curiosity.
So instead of answering every question directly,
Mm.
I could add a little mystery.
Exactly. Like if she asks, what did you do this weekend? Instead of giving her like a mundane play-by-play, you could say something like, oh, I had a pretty epic adventure. I'll tell you about it later.
Oh, that's good. It creates that loop in her mind that she'll want to close.
Exactly. And on social media, share these little glimpses into your passions, but don't give away the whole story. It's about creating that sense of what else is there?
Just enough to pique her interest
Mm.
without oversharing.
Right. And one last tip on sparking that curiosity, resist the urge to overtext. Create some space for her to wonder about you, to anticipate your next message.
Yeah, this all ties back to that scarcity effect we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
The less available you are, the more valuable you become.
Exactly.
Mm.
Creating that space and mystery, it really allows that attraction to build organically.
Okay, I'm loving this. So principle number 5 is all about embracing unpredictability and sparking her curiosity. What's next on our list of attraction strategies?
Okay, so let's talk about principle number 6, building emotional tension. And this one goes hand in hand with curiosity.
I have a feeling this is going to be a game changer. Fill me in.
Okay, so think about the most captivating stories and movies. What do they all have in common? Conflict. Attraction really thrives on a mix of emotions, a little bit of tension, that push and pull dynamic. It keeps things interesting and exciting.
Yeah, it's like that saying, the spice of life is variety. Without some contrast, things can get pretty bland.
Exactly. So how can we introduce this element of tension into our interactions? Well, playful teasing is a great way to create some light friction.
So instead of always being super agreeable, I should throw in a little playful banter.
Yeah. Challenge her opinions in a fun way. Tease her about some minor quirks, but always with a smile and a twinkle in your eye. It's about creating that spark, that playful back and forth that keeps things engaging.
And it shows that, I'm not afraid to be a little playful, a little
Mhm.
mischievous.
Right. It shows that you're confident and comfortable enough. to create that little bit of playful tension. And remember those strategic pauses we talked about. Letting them linger a little bit longer than usual can also build anticipation.
Yeah, it's like that moment of suspense in a movie when you know something's about to happen, but you're not sure what.
Exactly. And finally, don't be afraid to create a bit of friction by expressing your own opinions, even if they differ from hers.
So it's about being authentic and not always trying to please or seek validation.
Absolutely. Healthy relationships, they involve a balance of connection and individuality, a little bit of tension, that push and pull dynamic. It keeps things interesting and can actually deepen the connection.
Man, this is making so much sense. It's about creating an emotional roller coaster, not just a flat line of predictability. Okay, principle number 6. Embrace the power of tension. What's next on our journey to becoming irresistibly attractive?
Principle number 7 is all about setting boundaries.
Okay, so boundaries are obviously important in all aspects of life, but I'm curious to hear how they specifically relate to attraction.
Well, boundaries communicate self-respect, and self-respect is incredibly attractive. When you set these clear boundaries, you're telling the world and the women you're interested in that you value yourself, your time, and you're not willing to settle for less than you deserve.
So it's about having standards and not compromising them just to please someone else.
Exactly. Think about it this way. If someone constantly cancels plans at the last minute, isn't reliable, doesn't treat you with respect, are they really valuing you?
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a red flag that they might not be the right fit for you.
And in those situations, having the strength to walk away is actually a sign of strength and self-worth.
Yeah, they're showing that you're not desperate or needy,
Yeah.
that you have enough self-respect to know when to walk away from a situation that isn't serving you.
Precisely. So let's say someone keeps fleeking on you. Instead of making excuses for them, you could calmly and assertively say something like, "Hey, I understand things come up, but I'm looking for someone who values my time." You're stating your needs without being aggressive.
Yeah, that's a great example. It's about being clear about your expectations without being demanding or controlling.
Right. It's about finding that balance. Remember, setting boundaries. It's not about controlling other people. It's about taking care of yourself.
Okay, principle number 7. Set clear boundaries and stick to them. Got it. What else do we need to know about becoming irresistibly attractive?
Okay, so let's talk about confidence. This is principle number 8, and it's a big one. Show, don't tell your confidence.
Oh, I love that. You know true confidence. It's not about bragging or trying to prove yourself. It's about the energy you project.
You nailed it. Confidence is something that you embody, not something that you boast about. It's conveyed through your actions, your body language, your overall presence.
So how do we show confidence? What are some practical tips?
We'll start with the basics. Make eye contact when you talk to someone. Stand tall with good posture. Speak clearly and assertively. And act decisively. These nonverbal cues, they speak volumes about your confidence level.
It's about owning your space and being comfortable in your own skin.
And here's another powerful one. Let your results speak for themselves.
Oh, I like that. So instead of boasting about your accomplishments, let your actions do the talking. It's much more impressive to see someone quietly achieving their goals than to hear them constantly talking themselves up.
Exactly. Actions always speak louder than words. If you're constantly bragging, it comes across as insecure and try hard. But if you're quietly killing it in life and letting your success speak for itself, it's way more attractive.
So principle number 8, it's all about embodying confidence through your actions and presence. What's next on our list of mind-blowing attraction principles?
Let's talk about the myth of perfection. This is principle number 9. Stop trying to be her perfect guy.
Oh, man. I think so many guys fall into this trap. They think they have to be flawless to attract a woman. But in my experience, it usually backfires.
You're absolutely right. Trying too hard to please someone, to be someone you're not, it can be exhausting and inauthentic. Authenticity is far more attractive than trying to fit into some impossible mold.
Yeah, it's like you're constantly second-guessing yourself,
Yeah,
trying to live up to someone else's expectations, instead of just being yourself.
exactly. And it's not sustainable in the long run. The most attractive people are the ones who are comfortable in their own skin, who embrace their flaws and imperfections. They're not afraid to be vulnerable and real.
Yeah, it's about being genuine and authentic, not some idealized version of yourself. I mean, who wants to date a robot?
Right. Think about the people you're most drawn to. They're probably not perfect, but they're unique, they're interesting, and they own who they are. That's what makes them magnetic.
So ditch the pursuit of perfection and embrace your authentic self.
That's the key. Are you ready for the final principle? The one that can really transform your approach to attraction.
Bring it on. I'm ready to hear the grand finale.
All right, so principle number 10, it's a powerful one. It's about being willing to walk away.
Okay, this sounds intense but intriguing. Break it down for me.
So this principle really ties back to everything we've talked about today. Self-respect, knowing your worth, and setting boundaries. It's about recognizing that you deserve to be with someone who truly values you and appreciates you. And sometimes that means having the strength to walk away from a situation that isn't serving you.
So it's not about playing games or manipulating her. It's about having the self-respect to know when to move on.
Exactly. It's about recognizing your own value and not settling for less than you deserve. You know, walking away from a relationship that's not right for you, it can actually be a really powerful act of self-love.
And that kind of inner strength, that's incredibly attractive. It shows that you're not afraid to be alone. You're not clinging to her for validation.
Absolutely. It demonstrates that you have options and that you're not going to waste your time on someone who doesn't appreciate you.
So if someone isn't treating you the way you deserve to be treated, you have the confidence to walk away and find someone who will.
Precisely. And here's the interesting thing. This willingness to walk away often makes you more attractive.
Yeah, it's like that old saying, you don't know what you've got till it's gone. When you're not afraid to lose someone, it suddenly makes them realize what they're risking.
Exactly. It creates that sense of scarcity and intrigue. It signals that you're not just going to chase after her approval. You're a high-value man who knows his worth.
This is mind-blowing. Okay, so to recap, our 10 principles are: stop caring about her opinion, focus on your own value, don't chase, create mystery, master the art of silence, trigger her curiosity, build emotional tension, set boundaries, don't tell your confidence, stop trying to be her perfect guy,
Yeah.
and be willing to walk away.
You got it. And each of these principles, it kind of builds upon the last one to create this powerful framework for not only attracting women, but for also just living a more fulfilling and authentic life overall.
I have to admit, I was a bit skeptical at first, but this whole conversation has really changed my perspective on attraction. It's not about tricks or gimmicks. It's about self-improvement and understanding the psychology behind human connection.
Exactly. That's what we wanted to get across today, attraction. It's this complex interplay of psychology, behavior, and energy, and when you focus on becoming the best version of yourself, you naturally become more attractive.
Yeah, so much of what we talked about today, it all boils down to confidence and self-respect. You know, it's about knowing your worth
Yeah.
and not settling for less than you deserve.
Exactly. And remember, these principles aren't just about attracting women. They're about creating a life that you're excited about, a life that draws people to you because you're genuinely passionate and engaged.
Man, this has been an incredible deep dive. I'm feeling inspired
Yeah.
and ready to put these principles into action. What about you? What was your biggest takeaway from our conversation today?
You know, for me, it's just that reminder that authenticity is key. When you're comfortable in your own skin, you just kind of radiate this confidence that's impossible to fake.
I love that.
Yeah.
And for me, I think it's the power of silence. I'm going to challenge myself to really embrace those pauses
Yeah.
and let the conversation breathe.
Those are fantastic insights. And remember, this is a journey, not a destination. Be patient with yourself. Focus on making consistent progress and enjoy the process of becoming the most magnetic version of yourself.
Great advice. And to our listeners, we hope this deep dive has given you some valuable insights into the art of attraction. Remember, it's not about tricks or manipulation. It's about understanding the psychology behind human connection and becoming the best version of yourself. Until next time, keep exploring, keep growing, and keep diving deep